Hey, yo, what's up? What's up?
Welcome to your Everyday Rich podcast. We're your host. I'm Jenn.
I'm Jason Cow, and thank you for joining us today. We basically have living room couch conversations around life's major decisions for millennials. Talk about shit that your parents never talked to you about, and you're only trying to figure it out now.
And today, I think one of the things we want to talk about is, a very frequent conversation that me and Jason have in our dining table, in our living room, literally, like when we come home from work. And that is our experience with not having gray hair at our jobs.
Yeah, the side effect of not having enough gray hair in industry.
Mind you, I'm happy I don't have gray hair.
Yeah.
However, I feel like sometimes in my position, it's a drawback for myself.
What do you mean?
So for those who don't know, I am in engineering management. So at work, I'm responsible for bringing in jobs and running basically a team of engineers to execute the job.
Sounds like babysitting adults.
Kind of, but it is not really. I'm just responsible for project execution, right? Making sure I have a team that can actually execute the job with the right skill set, the right resources, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep.
But also bringing in the work so that, we can make money. I'm in consulting, right? So engineering consultant. So when it comes back to my original point of where not having gray hair is a drawback, when I go and meet with potential clients, whenever they come and ask and say, hey, like, what's your experience? They want to see, like, when you're hiring a consultant, you want to hire someone that knows what they're doing. Like, that's standard, right?
Yep.
And the first thing people look at is, how old are you?
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, the age-old question.
Why would I hire, a young kid to do the work when they've never done the work before? Or I feel like they have never done the work before.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Because they have a bias already.
Correct.
On how you look.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm Asian, I'm female, I'm very fortunate to have the genetics where I don't look like I'm 60. I am 40.
Asians don't raisin until they're 65.
Yeah, I look younger than maybe what I am. I look younger than a person that maybe has the same experience as me, but maybe of a different culture, a different nationality, right? So for me, it's like a drawback because when they look at me and they say, I have this project and I want to do this, I want to do that. They look at me, it's like, oh, how is this girl going to do it? Like, how does she have a team, run a team and do it? Like, has she done this before? Like, what does she know about this?
Yeah.
Right. So every time I walk into a meeting, and usually it's not just myself, usually, go with the team, myself, maybe another general manager, maybe one of the engineers or whatever. And yeah, they might have white hair, but I can tell right from the get-go that whether that person feels that I am worthy of that conversation.
What are those cues? What are those subtle cues?
The cues are eye contact. So, the first thing you ask your client or potential client is, say, what's the project about? What do you need? That kind of stuff to tell me about what you require. And when they talk, I always notice who they look at.
Yeah.
Who do they give the most eye contact to? Because the person they give the most eye contact to is the first person they have the most respect for at the table. They
might actually see that as the most authority.
Correct. Yeah. I'm talking to this person because this person will make the decision, or this person has the most experience. This person will provide the most valuable feedback.
It's interesting because it's like, the thing is that even though you have certain titles, right?
Doesn't matter what your title is. I'll introduce myself and I could be this person who has gray hair beside me. I can be their manager or their supervisor. It doesn't matter.
And they already made an assumption based on how you look.
Exactly.
Of competency, experience, execution skills.
Yep.
Which that person with gray hair may not have the same level.
No.
But just because they have gray hair it's automatically inferred that they have more experience. And that's annoying because I remember you telling me a lot about this as you kind of got to that point of manager position. Jen, you were doing this. What share like before becoming manager, like what was that role as you're becoming like a junior engineer where you went into that senior leadership engineer position? You remember where you took over your mentor's role?
Yeah. Yeah. I started out as an EIT, which is an engineering and training.
Yep.
Right. Did that for, I don't know, 6 years or whatever. And then eventually my supervisor, who was basically running our department, retired.
Old white dude with a lot of gray hair.
Yeah. He was 65 years old.
Yeah. Really
right?
nice guy.
So he's 40 years my senior.
Yeah.
Right. And he, don't get me wrong, he was very, very smart, very technically like sound. Like
he was the Wikipedia of your industry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had a ton of respect in the industry. Like a lot of people knew him, not just in our company, but like around the consulting business. Right. So there's big shoes to fill.
Yep.
I mean, trying to fill a person who's been in the business for 40 years, like there's only so much a person can teach.
That's so true.
And I tried to be, as big of a sponge as possible, but still, like, you can't teach 40 years to anybody. Like, it's just impossible. Right. So it's big shoes to fill. And I was doubting myself at that point.
Why do you think you were doubting yourself? Is because of the shoes that you had to fill?
Yeah.
Huh.
Of course.
Yeah.
Right. And over time, like, it was difficult, but what I did to counteract that was I spent the time outside of work reading, getting my technical skills up to speed.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only way, right? Is to spend the extra time to basically earn your spot.
Yeah, no, this is so true. This whole thing about like, it's important to understand, like, just having a seat at the table doesn't mean anything these days, right? Like, anyone can get a seat at the table.
You got to earn your respect at the table.
Yeah, what you say out of your mouth at that table is actually more important.
Yeah.
Right. So,
and that's why I mentioned earlier when I go and sit with my clients, I feel the need, because I don't have gray hair. I don't have, I don't look like I've been in the business for 15 years. I feel like I have to speak up more to earn that respect.
I think that's also a cultural and a social issue that we all face, especially obviously women. And I'm going to say this minority, quote unquote, even though I don't think Asian people are minorities anymore in Canada. But what I mean is like in specific industries, right, that are dominated by a specific culture or a ethnic group, right? I'm just going to say it. Okay. A lot of industries that you're working in, that I'm working in, dominated by white males, right? It's true.
In management, yes.
In management, yes.
Yeah.
But then the thing that you were mentioning that was interesting, where I can relate to as well, is that you feel like you have to speak up, right? Because if you don't say anything, automatically you're already in a position where they don't feel like you have any authority. So if you sat there the whole time and didn't say anything, automatically it would be confirmation bias for them, because they're like, hey, they didn't say anything.
Yeah.
What exactly? They know right away.
They know nothing.
Yeah, they know nothing, even though you could be the smartest person in the room.
Yeah.
So I feel that.
Do you feel that at your work too? Because you're starting to have a little bit of gray hair, but you can't really tell.
Wow. Jeez. Low clap like that, right? A clap there. Well, these titanium hairs that are coming out are a form of, I'm going to call it maturity and a little bit of style. Richard Gere, No, I did. I continue to experience the same thing that you're mentioning, especially like now, because I still, like, similar to what you're mentioning here, is I look younger than my peers, way younger, especially when I compare it to my VP. Like, my VP is similar to your mentor. This gentleman is basically in his mid 60s, lots of gray hair, is essentially one of the most respected in the industry. Everybody knows this person's name. You say that name, that's all you got to do. Name drop. And he always calls it well, listen, if you need the old white guy with white hair effect call me. And he says that jokingly, right? But
it's true.
But knowing that in certain instances that's a reality. But I did face that. I continue to face that. And I'll give you an example. I remember one of my first assignments. I went through this project where I was just a junior PM, right, in commercial real estate here, where we represent clients to build out their facilities, right? And the president of this place is a much older man and has been dealing with my VP for a long time, right? We just bring ourselves in certain points of the project to facilitate and support the execution. And it's like, when you see this fresh face, first of all, it's like, well, you haven't been at the table, and all of a sudden now someone makes a seat for you. Okay, that's one thing. That's like, whoa. And the next thing now is, again, the same thing that you were mentioning is, okay, who's this young buck at the table?
It's not just a note taker.
Yeah, I'm not just a note taker. And here's the problem is that depending on where I was in my stage, certain management would actually even put myself in that position where it's like, oh, you just take the notes. But I also realized that by taking notes, even though it seems very degrading in terms of what you think your skill set is, it's how people learn.
Yeah.
So you're at the table, okay, maybe right now you're not in a position where you actually can do certain things because you don't have that skill set yet. So you need to learn the ropes. How do you learn ropes? Do whatever you need to do, right? Whether it's take notes, whether it's listen and observe, whether it's to follow around your mentor, whatever it is, you do whatever you need to do to learn. And through that, even though there were a lot of those situations where it was like, who's this kid, right? And my mentor, my VP would always mention, be like, he's the guy that does he's the guy that keeps the whole team together, right? And in a way where good mentors, I find, are the ones that will prop you up, right? Because they've already been through this process. They know what they're talking about. Yeah. They know they're the shit. There's no need for them to continue to say, well, hey, I'm the man. They know that you're the man. That's why you're here. The whole idea is to bring other people up with you. Yeah. And I find that your mentor did that really well for you. I call him my mentor. My VP has done that throughout my career, right? When I'm working with him, he's always basically said, no, he's the guy that's going to be doing this. I just happen to be the face talking right now. Right. So yeah, it's challenging, but it's the way to navigate it is similar to you. It's just, you got to put in the work.
So in situations where now you were the note taker back in the day on your first project, now that you've been in the business and you worked on, I don't know how many projects in the past, whatever years, when you walk into a room and you know, or you feel like the person at the other end of the table is not taking you seriously, what do you do in that situation?
That's okay. That's a multi-pronged answer here. I'm gonna try to cut this up into a few pieces. So the first thing for me is, fortunately, okay, I'm gonna say this not in a way of like boasting, is that although I have this whole youthful appearance, I don't have the female problem, right? Disadvantage, not disadvantage, but it's almost like a social disadvantage, right? In industries where that you have to fight that double-edged sword.
Yeah. Right. Is your industry also male dominated?
Male dominated, okay. Significantly male dominated, right? Yep. And entering those rooms, the first thing I have to do is, I don't position myself as an authority. I position myself as a listener first. Because the number one thing I find that people that go into rooms is that they're trying to assert their authority by talking, right? Whereas I can relate to what you were mentioning, is that you have to almost assert your dominance by speaking up, because you might not get the opportunity to do that, right? And that's a fine line to toe. But for myself, I actually listen first. First and foremost, I have to read the person, because I find that if I've done it before, where if I've spoken up too quickly, too early, you're in a position where someone can just actually shut you down, because it's like, well, hold on a second here, right?
That's not what I said.
Yeah, it's not what I said. So why are you talking? Yeah. Kind of thing, right? That's just very general. So I found that earlier on, where it's like, I had to like say something just because I wanted someone to recognize that I'm there, didn't go very well. So by listening and observing what behavioral type that person is has helped me a lot. So reading a book, actually behind me, it's Surrounded by Idiots. Whereas essentially it's the disc profile, right? Understanding what kind of behavioral profile the person has, so that you can kind of now balance that by, well, if someone is a very alpha type person, you know how to talk to an alpha type, versus if you're going to approach something very dominantly to someone that's very passive, it's not going to work. Now it's going to be totally opposite. And the other thing I found too is that knowing when to kind of step up the intensity too. So part of it is that, like, you can talk to someone, but you kind of have to show them to say, hey, listen, you hired me for a reason. And sometimes you actually have to say it outright, is that I may not look like it, but I've done this for quite a bit of time. I don't tell you how to manage your business, so I'm going to ask you that you give me some slack for me to make your project a success. And that actually has surprised a lot of people, because they don't expect that to come out by you calling them out to say, like, why did you hire me in the first place if you aren't going to respect my recommendations? And then usually the tides change. So I found that by understanding the person that you're speaking to, it allows you to kind of navigate that kind of muddy water of, like, oh shit, what do I say? When do I say it? But I think me and you will never be able to escape the whole, like, young kid look.
Yeah, I don't plan on trying to look older.
No, hell no. Yo, man.
I refuse to. Like, fuck them. I don't care.
I'm gonna be going for Just for Men soon.
Well, speaking of dyeing your hair, I think taking that from a female perspective, I think one additional thing that I have, like, not just obviously speaking up at the meeting or whatever it is, I'm also very conscious of how I dress. As a female.
Okay.
And maybe some people will not agree with me, because, I know people are like, oh, wear what you want, and, you should be able to be who you are wherever you are, that kind of stuff. And for me, and this is just my own personal opinion, I already struggle in my industry of, like I said, I feel like I always earn my spot at the table all the time. So for me, if I go to the table with a super low cleavage shirt and, dyed red hair, like, don't get me wrong, I used to have fire engine red hair. I love red hair. But I feel like that adds an additional barrier for myself in my industry, where if I go and sit in the table not looking the way that they're expecting me to look, I feel like that's an additional barrier that I have to, like, jump through.
You feel that's like a credibility problem now?
Yeah. In my industry. Right? Oh, look at this young girl with, like, dyed red hair and, I don't know, a super tight dress or something.
Have you seen this before, though? Have you seen someone else come to the table like that before in the industry?
No. Actually, wait. Yes.
Yeah.
I have.
And
men will do what men do. They will look.
Do you think that's an advantage, though?
No, because I don't want men to look at me like that when I'm at that specific table. I'm not at a bar trying to pick up dudes. I am at a table trying to get business.
Wait, is that why you dyed your hair red and wear those tight clothing back in the day?
To the bar.
The fuck?
But you know what I mean, right? Like, I feel that's just my take. I already feel that I have to earn my seat.
Yeah.
As it is. And I feel like if I don't dress a certain way, it will just be an additional barrier for me to get to that seat.
Well, it's almost like, why sell your standards so low now to basically use your image versus your intelligence?
Yeah, I'm not saying, like, wearing fitted dress or dyeing your hair red is, like, a bad thing, right? Like, if you like red hair, great. Like, I love red hair too. But it's just, men are going to be men.
This is true.
Like, you can't change how men look at women when women wear fitted dresses and, dress a certain way.
I'll give you a good
You can't change that.
I'll give you a good example.
No matter
So
what setting you're in.
in my industry, and I don't want to name things, right? Obviously, because this is just generally, but there is this firm in the industry where the principal is led by a female, very successful, and is at a point in their career where like they're just BD, right? They're the principals, so they don't necessarily work on projects except if it's like a high profile project
to bring in the work.
Right? So they usually go and sell their business.
Yep.
So they come into clients and they upsell themselves.
Yep.
And a lot of time, this individual would come into the meetings because, you know, we would be the one interviewing on behalf of the clients, and then our clients would join the interviews for shortlisted RFPs and all that stuff. And I remember this one time, the client was a young male from overseas in Europe, and totally got swayed by call it the blonde hair effect, right? Tight dress, blonde hair. And don't get me wrong, I mean, older lady, but still could schnazz it up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right? The whole pretty woman effect came into play and sold the business, but she sold herself, right? Saying like, look at me.
Yeah.
Right? And even though our recommendation was, I don't think this is the right fit, still went with it. Well, because like you're saying, guys will be guys.
Men will be men.
Men will be men, right? So
you get swayed by that, right? So
yeah, I think, you know, if you feel like you are in an industry that you are required to dress a certain way, then perhaps it might be a question for yourself to ask yourself, like, is this the right line of work I should be in? It becomes kind of more of a thing about like, well, does it meet your own personal standards?
Yeah.
Like, do you think that's fair to yourself that you have to portray yourself a certain way?
No, good point.
To lower your standard. No, I don't call it lower your standards, but almost to a way
it's not
where
lowering my standard. Like I said, if you want to wear a fitted dress and red hair, that's fine. It's not lowering your standard. It's more so
changing who you are.
Changing how you dress.
Yeah.
Right.
Because of that. Yeah. Because you're forced to.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, if you're a stripper, hey, sorry, man, you can't come in with clothes on. That's the way it works. But yeah, that's the whole point, right? It's like this thing is that, you know, as a consultant, you're there to consult on behalf of your intelligence, right?
Correct.
Your ability to execute on ideas.
Yeah. Your ability to get the job done.
Yeah, man. You pay you to get the job done.
Right?
Not,
whether in marketing, whether you're in like any type of consulting, right? Yeah. Like you're not there to look pretty. You're there. Well, maybe in some.
Okay.
Sometimes they look pretty, but for the most part, like I'm not there to look pretty. I'm there for me. I can only speak for myself. I'm there to sell my skills.
Yeah.
Right. And that is my sole purpose of me being there.
And that's why I think if anyone's listening to this, I think part of where we're getting to at this point of the discussion here now is the idea here is to sell yourself, right? Sell yourself in a respectable manner that doesn't put your standards down to a position where I think you have to compromise now, right? Compromise for who you are.
Yeah.
Because it's like all of a sudden, if you compromise on those qualities and those things that make you who you are, and you're changing the way the things are because I have to dress a certain way or have to talk a certain way, then it's not you anymore.
Yeah.
Right? You're not getting you. Your client's not getting you. You're not demonstrating who you are. You're just demonstrating what you want them to hear, which I get it. You do want to say the right things, but at the end of the day, you're going to be working with them. You're going to be married to them. Like they're going to find out it's like, whoa, this is not who I hired.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's this thing. Oh, here. Another thing too is, it's not gray. It's not a gray hair thing, right? And it's not navigating experience, but it's also navigating a cultural problem I see in industry is that talking differently at work versus at home.
Like slang?
Not even slang. It's just
like bro?
No.
Like what do you mean?
Like the intonation and how you speak at work sounds differently than when you talk to your friends or even me.
Yeah.
Right. And
Jason always tells me this. Like, why do you sound so different when you talk in your Teams meeting?
Okay. I call it the nerdy white boy thing. Okay. Where it's that when you pick up the phone, it's like the salesperson will like, hello, hi, Jason speaking. How can I help you?
I don't sound like that.
I'm just saying, not you, okay? But when people pick up the phone, it's just like, hi, how's it going? Right? Hey, how's it going? How can I do for you? Like, you see on the YouTube, I'm holding the phone like this. You know how old I am. If I'm holding the phone up like
With 2 fingers?
the cowabunga sign,
With your pinky and your thumb.
versus you hold the phone like this, you know we're old. But yeah, no, it's true, right? It's this whole thing about like we feel like we have to talk differently when we're at this so-called work culture. Whereas I've always truly believed that you should be yourself. Now, don't get me wrong. If your vocabulary is lacking and it's very like ghetto, you probably shouldn't be talking too much, or you should maybe improve your vocab in your language, because nobody's going to take you seriously if you're going to be using slang all the time. But don't change how you sound, in my opinion, because you want to be authentic who you are, right? Whereas, yeah, I'm not going to answer the phone, yo, what's up? And be like, hey, how's it going? Versus, hey, how are you? Nice day for a walk, huh? Or how's the weather out there?
Well, you always say I sound different when I speak at work as well.
Well, you do. What do you see that? Do you hear it?
No. Maybe because I'm always whining to you or something. Is that why I sound different?
No, I think you're just more stern to me. You're not whining to me. You're just like demanding to me, instructing, be like, why is this not done yet? Versus, hey, why is this not done yet? But anyways, this is not the nitpick. I'm just talking even to myself because I recognize that too. And I hear it. I hear it in the office, right? I hear it with my peers. I hear it with clients. I hear it with you. And I'm sure you hear it with yourself if you're listening. Like you might pick up the phone, but like you talk differently.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that it's the same thing, is that your standard should be the same regardless of who you're speaking to, whether it's the fucking president of the United States or your mother or your wife or your kids. Talk the same, right? The idea is that you will always get who you are. And even though that I sound the same, I just understand how to talk differently, not sound differently. I talk
with different things,
specific settings.
Yeah.
Whereas if I'm in a room at a business event, I know how to conduct myself in a way where I can speak that language, but still sound like me.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I can be like, I could talk to them about those things. Or if I'm hanging out with my friends, I can joke around, still talk like me, but it's in a different environment. So
I think I'm the same as well.
Yeah. But that's what I want to try to connect, right? Is that I think socially we are pressured to sound differently, to act differently, because of what culture has kind of told us to sound like. I don't know. That's just how I see it.
But at the end of the day, I think, back to the original, name of this podcast, we don't have gray hair. So now what do? Is you basically have to portray, like you said, yourself, your experience, your knowledge, right? At the table that you're at, whether it's at a business event, it could be with your friends, right? You be yourself, right? But yeah, there's certain situations where you might have to earn your seat because of the specific situation, whether maybe you're the underdog, maybe you have no white hair, maybe you're female. But regardless of what situation you're in, if you have the confidence and you speak confidently about whatever your expertise is, like that's how you will get there, right? And if you don't have the expertise, you got to do the work. You got to do the work to get the expertise, right? Whatever it is, getting that experience, like you said, through shadowing from somebody else, spending time in those meetings, spending time at, I don't know, wherever, doing that extra research at night. Like that's how you will get that seat at the table. Yeah,
it's true. I think the big saying where I remember growing up and hearing it even in the workplace, this whole thing about fake it till you make it, is a complete sham.
Yeah.
It is actually a very bad way to approach your life and your career in anything. Because by faking it just basically means, you're going to wing it and pretend like magic will happen.
Yeah.
It's actually the real thing is that you will put in the hard work, because everything that you get in life is earned. It's never given, right? It's not this, when we were growing up, it's the participation award effect, I think.
Oh, God.
Right? where it's like, oh, if whatever you ask for, you get it.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, if you don't show anything, if you like, losers don't win anything. So you have to work hard. You have to put in the work, like you mentioned, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's your job, whether it's your family, whether it's your health, your fitness, or even if you're learning about something investing related like this, right? Financial literacy. It takes time to understand it, to put in the work, so that you have you legitimately have a seat at the table.
Yeah.
Right. And
ask for it.
oh yeah. You bet a great point.
Don't expect it to be offered to you.
Yeah.
Right. If you want to get a seat at the table, especially if you're the underdog, especially if you're the female, especially if you don't have white hair, you got to ask for it.
Yep. Absolutely. If you don't speak up for yourself, nobody's going to know anything that you wanted.
Yeah.
Right. Like, you have to say something. You have to let people know that that's what you want. And you have to let people know that, hey, you're here. You're able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I know my shit. And let me show you how. That's the other thing too. Talking a big talk is one thing, but when the tide runs out, you know who's swimming naked, because when you put someone in a pressure situation and they talk the big talk,
they don't know what to do.
They freeze.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, hold on a second. You were there saying all this stuff, and now how come you don't know how to do this?
Yeah.
Right.
You know what's a funny stat I read the other day? I don't know what the exact numbers, but they're saying for every job posting, let's say there's like 10, requirements for the job posting. Men will apply, let's say they only have maybe 6 of the 10.
Yep.
They'll still apply for the job.
Yep.
They'll ask for it.
Yep.
They'll ask for the seat at the table. Women, on the other hand, if they see, oh, I don't have, this particular skill set, but they have 9 out of 10, they will not apply for the job.
I read the same thing. Yeah.
I don't know what it is about men and women, just how we think differently, but men will ask for it way more than the women. I don't know why. I have no idea what the scientific reason is, but that's just the reality. So for all you women listening out there, ask for a seat at the table.
Yep. Yeah, that's a Mel Robbins deep conversation here. I'm not going to
I can't explain it.
I'm not going to venture into that.
I don't even know the psychology behind that. I'm not a doctor. No idea.
Yeah. And kind of to branch off on what we were talking about, asking for it and the whole, like, you have to kind of demonstrate your competency. Unfortunately, you have to just show that you act like, there's no way about it. You have to learn. You have to be able to show and execute that you can do it in order for someone to believe you. Right. Yeah. And the idea is that once you've kind of gone to that place, then it becomes your turn to pass the torch down, and not continue to just say, hey, I'm the man, I'm the girl, like, the wins that you create are not just your wins, they're your team's wins. If you're in a team environment, what I'm talking about here at work. And just like at home, your personal success is actually a combination of your family success. You don't win without your family. Just like you don't win projects without everyone else contributing on that project. So when you're at this position where you have a level of competency, you have the respect, you have earned the seat to the table, now it's your turn to pull someone in and give them the opportunity to sit at the table.
And the next round.
Exactly. And that's the only way that things will be able to continue. Everyone gets a chance, right? Because if everyone... Like, the idea sometimes is it's part, like, they say luck is a combination of hard work and timing, which I kind of feel that's true. You don't put in the hard work, you're never going to be able to execute when the time comes to you.
Yeah, when that opportunity comes up.
Right. And sometimes that opportunity is you might be that opportunity that you're giving someone else.
Yep.
So don't ever like feel like it's only a one-way street. It has to be reciprocal at some point in your life. So
yep.
And I'm at that position. You're at that position now where you're like, hey, I'm bringing people to the table now, because like at some point you're going to need someone to step up, fill those shoes up.
That's right.
So, yeah.
Anywho.
I mean, this
literally, we have this conversation. I'm not joking. Like at least once a month, because of some situation at work that's exactly how we feel and get home. Like, this guy did not.
And you know what? Here's the reality too that I've come to realize as well. at some point, some people will never be able to respect you no matter what you do. It's just the weird thing about people. Some people are just fucking assholes.
Yeah, I know.
They're fucking assholes. And I could tell you, I've had clients that are fucking assholes. And you're listening to this, fuck you. We're never working with you again, so it's okay.
They don't know you have this podcast.
Exactly. Fuck you. But
it's true.
It's true. Yeah. And I'm sure if you're listening to this, you have worked with people that are fucking assholes as well. And you're just like, why the hell can they not work well with you? It's just some people I don't know what it is, right? Just oil and water, man. Just don't mix, no matter what you do. But at the end of the day, just forget about it. It's hard. It's hard because we do have these conversations, right?
We vent to each other because we meet those people and we just have a tough day with those people, and this is what we talk about.
Yeah, and the thing is like, it's not that the reason why we have this is because we care, right? You if you didn't care, you'd be like, whatever.
Yeah.
Right? But we care. We care because we want to do good work. You want to add value to society. You want to put yourself out there in a position where you can succeed, but also your success is because you've made someone else success. My famous line that I always tell my clients here is, my number one job here is to make you look good. And by me making you look good, you make me look good. So let's do this together.
Yep. Alrighty.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how to end this off, but this is kind of the things that we go through every day. And
couch conversations that we have.
You might not be in the industries that we're in, but it might be relatable because we're all kind of going through something like this. You know, if you're a millennial, you're not old yet, but you're not young.
No.
But I'm sure you err on the side of young, right? And whether you're a male, female, it's tough because these are waters that we've never experienced before. And it's not like our parents told us, it's like
what to do in these situations.
What to do.
Don't underestimate the value that you bring to the table. Right?
Yeah, for sure. So, but yeah, guys, if you if you found this relatable and you feel like you could pick something up here and you're asking yourself, shit, man, that happens to me, let us know, right? Like, send us a message. Like, we love hearing actually the feedback that we get from people that say, like, this was something I went through, or this is how I overcame it. And that's the way that we're able to share these stories so that, other people can hear about these kind of life decisions as we kind of go through, kind of navigate this kind of weird shit in life. So, help us with one thing is rate the show. So go to Apple or Spotify, click that 5-star review, leave a comment, even if it's like, great show, shitty show, loved it, hated it, whatever, man, just leave it because it helps reach other people that I think could use this.
For sure.
So,
alrighty.
All right, guys. Anyways, that's about it. We're going to wrap up here. And my butt's sweaty here.
It's getting hot in here.
It's getting hot. So anyways, till next time.
See ya.
Peace.
Your Everyday Rich podcast is presented solely for general informational, educational, and entertainment purposes. Any such information or other material should not be construed as legal, tax, investment, financial, or other advice. It is not intended as a substitute for the advice of a qualified professional.